Good morning to you all. I'm Martín Vegas from the Telefónica Foundation from Peru. I'm moderating this webinar on appropriation and cultural identity that is carried out in World Teachers' Day. I would like to give you a warm welcome to this third webinar, which is part of a series, Digital Education in the Americas, Best Practices to Inspire. During this edition, we will focus on a crucial aspect for the Americas, and that has been little discussed in the field of digital education, which is the appropriation and cultural identity. Before kicking off, I would like to inform you that this webinar is in Spanish, but we have English interpretation.
For our English-speaking community, we would like to inform you that this presentation has an English.
Para los que hablan inglés, queremos comentarles que tenemos. Today we're celebrating this event on World Day for World Teachers Day. So we would like to give a warm welcome to all the teachers who are participating today in this webinar. And I trust that this conversation will help you to transform the world by the work you carry out in your classrooms. This is a number of events organized by the Alliance of the Organization of American States with ProFuturo within the framework of mapping of best practices in digital education in the Americas. For further information on forthcoming activities, we invite you to follow our social networks or to write to portal@oas.org. The dynamic of this event is made up of two sections. First of all, we will have an institutional welcome and a summary of the key results of the mapping exercise carried out. Then the second part, we will have a roundtable with 3 teachers as regards appropriation and cultural identity. To kick off, I would like to give the floor to Martín González, member of the OAS and ProFuturo Alliance. Luis, you have the floor. Hello, good morning to you all. Thank you, Martín, for this warm welcome and moderating this event from Peru. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this third session, Digital Education in the Americas, Best Practices to Inspire. I would like to highlight what Martín has pointed out and welcome all the teachers as their role is essential for the development of the Americas. On the 5th of October, we welcome and celebrate the World Teachers Day, and we would like to congratulate them for their passion and the work they carry out. For the future generations, you know that your task is such an important one. From the Human Development, Education and Employment Department at the OAS, we are proud to present this in collaboration with our partner ProFuturo. This initiative arose following practices on digital education that were published in April of this year, and I would like to invite you to visit the website of the Americas to explore in detail these inspiring experiences, and later on we will be sharing the link. Now, the journey that has brought us here has been highly gratifying. We have discovered over 160 initiatives, highly innovative, that integrate the new technologies in local educational practices in 17 countries. This best practice map is a good tool for governments, schools, and students to foster innovation in schools, and we are fully convinced that it will contribute to the goals set out by the Ministries of Education through the Inter-American Agenda that was approved last November. The educational challenges in our countries are significant and require coordinated efforts of all stakeholders. We are confident that initiatives such as these will enable us to continue building on the success achieved in other parts of the world, and as you can see, the collaboration between different sectors to face common challenges. Our mission here is to highlight these experiences and share them with all of you through moments such as this, the teachers that are with us today help to inspire all the educational community in the region. And I would like to express my thanks to those people that have participated in the mapping with their initiatives and all of you who are present from the different parts of the Americas. I would like to acknowledge the passion and commitment of Profuturo in promoting education in the Americas. They are a strategic partner for our organization, and we have carried out several activities such as these for countries in Latin America and Caribbean to strengthen public policies for education with integration. We would like to thank the executive director and Leticia Rato, who is responsible of global partnerships and institutional relations. I also would like to give a warm welcome to Elizabeth Galdo, who is with us today, executive director of the Movistar Foundation in Peru. Thank you for participating in this event today. And I would also like to express our thanks to all the ministries of education, the ministries of foreign affairs, and permanent missions of the countries before the OAS with whom we work together in order to carry out such activities. And finally, and not at least, the team of teachers from the Inter-American Network of Teachers and the teams of the OAS, Profuturo, and the Telefónica Foundation. Thanks to them, it has been possible to hold this meeting. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Luis. And next, we would like to give the floor to Elizabeth Galdo Marin, Executive Director of the Movistar Peru, Telefónica Movistar Peru Foundation. Good morning. I am delighted to be here with you today in this digital seminar, which is so important. And here we'll be learning about some of the best practices in education that have been gathered by the OAS. And it's a pleasure to have in today's panel Peruvian and Colombian teachers who later on will show and share their experiences. Education is universally recognized as a key driver for social development and economic progress of countries, and this has been the main focus of the Telefónica Movistar Foundation in Peru for the past 5 years, and to understand digital transformation that lead to a huge transformation and technological revolution, since this is the fourth industrial revolution, which is even greater and more important than the third industrial revolution. These changes enable us to act efficiently so as to enhance the life and education of citizens, to enhance employment with in mind to try and fight against inequality. And this is our current challenge. We connect people with progress, since we do not want to leave anyone behind. The digital education program committed with education, which the Telefónica Movistar Foundation Peru has launched since 2016, seeks to reduce the educational gap in the world based on technology and educational innovation, which is a very important component. And we seek to innovate on an ongoing basis. And this would not be possible without teachers that are with us and help us in these efforts. We would like to transform education of millions of boys and girls, and thus enhance education in both urban and rural areas. This program is present in 45 countries. It's a very broad program, and we have many Latin American countries, as well as from the Caribbean, Asia, and even Africa, currently benefiting 28 million school children and more than 1.4 million teachers who are agents of change and essential for to achieve this educational change. So we seek to guarantee inclusive and equal education as well as quality education, and to enable teaching as in the SDG number 4, in which we're fully aligned with. Today's seminar is example of multi-sector collaboration along a permanent path of driving and developing education in the region of Latin America. And thus, it is a pleasure to participate in this event with representation of experts and former Education Minister Martin Vegas, who will be our moderator today. I would like to thank the Organization of American States for the opportunity of addressing this session, and I would like to thank the experts in education that have helped to create this best practices map and the report of digital education in the Americas, which I would invite you to go into and read the information. I'd also like to thank the teachers who are with us today and who will be sharing their experiences. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Next, we will present a short video with the main results of best practices. This video is in the link that you can find. The mapping of best practices in digital education of the Americas, organized by the Alliance of the Organization of American States, Fisco Futuro, aims to foster the efforts made by educational institutions and civil society organizations in Latin America and the Caribbean. We called for initiatives developed between 2020 and 2022, which promoted learning opportunities and positively impacted the educational community by fostering innovative projects towards improving school trajectories and the recovery of learning processes while integrating new digital technologies. We received more than 160 initiatives from 17 countries in the hemisphere. With these practices, we created an interactive map in the educational portal of the Americas website, where it is possible to browse and learn more about each specific practice. Our project is called Disruptive Education for a Nation. We started this project to establish a different kind of education. An evaluation committee had the difficult task of selecting 30 remarkable experiences, which were awarded the recognition of best educational practice. In addition, 4 of these had the chance to invite a teacher to attend the 5th edition of the Enlightened event from November 16th to 17th, 2022 in Madrid. This was a space to share experiences and reflect upon the challenges faced in the field of learning and education in the digital era. With my participation in Enlightened 2022, I have enriched my pedagogical practice and met teachers from all over the world. Also, I have learned about their successful experiences implementing LMs in the project that I have been developing with my students. Enlighten has met knowledge, development, and learning from experts. This has allowed me to apply these to my practice towards the creation of innovative teachers. Access a map of digital education best practices in the Americas through the link provided in the description of this video. Learn more about the most recent and innovative educational practices in the region. Thank you for your support.
Muchas gracias por tu apoyo.
I hope that you have enjoyed this video and that then you can go into the web page that has very interesting experiences and information. Now we will move on to a roundtable with teachers on identity and cultural ownership. So I would like to welcome the teachers, Reina Rodriguez Champi from Peru. She comes from a city of Cusco with a project called We Read and Dream with Yachasun, that is Quechua language. We would like to welcome Katia Suarez from Colombia, from Antioquia, and her project is known Acknowledging My Legacy. And finally, Eugenia Tames from Mexico with the project Virtual Student Exchanges. So to kick off this conversation, I would now like to present several questions which I would ask them to answer in 2 minutes, please. So the first question, but to kick off this conversation, has to do with these two concepts. What do we understand, or what do we mean by cultural identity and cultural ownership or appropriation, and why is it necessary to talk about this in the context of education? So in this first round, I would like to invite Eugenia Tames to take the floor. Well, thank you and good morning to you all. First of all, I am delighted to be part of this panel, and I'm so happy to be with you. And without further ado, for me, cultural identity is what I call it, a collective identification. It's this legacy of values, traditions, beliefs, and symbols, and even the way we behave of individuals within a country, a nation, and within a context, and even within a community. And this helps us to have a sense of belonging. I identify myself as Mexican because I have this culture, I follow such traditions, I live them on a daily basis, and I share them. So all this set of experiences, and which have been a legacy through various generations, is part of my personality, are part of what I am, of what I convey, and even more, what I'm going to leave as a legacy, this feeling of belonging that is part of the whole group, and that will remain with time. We may have some influences. It's not something that's static, but in most cases, it's rooted, and with which I feel fully identified. I have this identity of a Mexican culture so that I convey them and live with others. As regards cultural ownership or appropriation, how I'm going to use these cultural elements, how I'm going to share them with others. Is this culture my own? Once I know, I'm going to share it with others. So this is a very fashionable word, and it's taken a very difficult path, which we will address. And I think this is important to include these two concepts, cultural identity and ownership, because the technological education, and when talking about best digital practices, through these we're able to share with other cultures through technology and inspire other cultures to learn more about who we are, and in turn learn about other cultures too. This joint exchange of cultures provides a wealth of education and learning, which is incredible. And in this digital era, we can drive and share and exponentially. And above all, what I have done is to address the issue of inclusion and the diversity and the fact of knowing more about our own culture and that of others. Well, thank you so much, Eugenia. And now I would like to give the floor to Katia. Katia needs to switch on her mic. She's on mute. I think Katia has a connectivity problem. Hello, good morning. Can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you now. Well, good morning. Well, thank you so much. Before participating in this discussion, I would like to thank to the organizations that have come together to organize this event, in which we provide a voice to teachers so that we can share their proposals and the work they carry out on a daily basis in the classroom. I would also like to thank all the teachers who have joined in to this webinar to listen to what we want to share with you today. So thank you to you all. As regards cultural identity, as has well been said by Eugenia, these features or specific features of a person and which make him or her different from other communities, other territories, and other populations, and which is precisely a group that has been built from one generation to another by the inhabitants of a specific territory. So this is specific to certain areas of the world and provide us with specific characteristics and special ones, and that make us different from other populations or groups. And whenever a teacher within a territory, students in a school begin to work and highlight this identity and to recover and, well, we are this and we do this, and it's important for others to know this, then we start to address this ownership. We become owners of our territory, of who we are and what we have for us and for the whole world. Eugenia also mentioned that right now this concept is conceived differently with perhaps a negative nuance, but from the initiatives that are being carried out, what we seek to do is to empower our students, since we live in a territory, nevertheless, and the global dynamics, we are turning back to our culture, to whom we are. We are not familiar with it, or we could maybe turn it down or reject it. And that's why within our community, what we're trying to do from our classrooms and through our proposals to recover and value and to embrace our traditions. So that's the significance of why students have to put context to this, so as to provide a more in-depth education with greater significance. Well, thank you so much, Katia. Now, I would like to give the floor to Reina Rodriguez from Peru. Well, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organization for providing the opportunity to present my initiative here in the Andes. I'm in the area of Cusco. First of all, I would like to start by stating that my Andean culture is the Quechua language. So I do is I to visualize myself. I have to teach this, and I would have loved to have learned, and I would have wanted to be taught in my mother tongue and not to impose a language that I was not familiar with. So in that regard, first of all, one has to know his or her own culture. And we who have an Andean background, Quechua, we have not become owners of our own culture. And what has happened is that we have learned from the Western culture in an unequal situation, because the colonial times means that the Spanish culture has been set over our Andean culture in many systems, and particularly education, since this is seen as a problem and not a possibility. On the other hand, we have to understand how our students describe themselves. And one of the first things that we teachers must do is to identify how they conceive themselves. And they are going to consider themselves based on what they know. the cultural identity from two standpoints. First of all, the community and its culture internally. We know that each population has important elements as regards their vision and their understanding of the world. In the Andean communities, they have a joint working system, and we have a number of organizations for decision making. The wise men that convey the knowledge that is conveyed from one generation to another, and thanks to them, we maintain our cultural beliefs. If we've not have had the opportunity of learning and understanding our own culture, we won't be able to develop our own identity, neither will we be able to understand other cultures. And secondly, to learn about our culture with regard to others, it is essential to understand and relate with people from various cultures, and to that end, one needs to be aware of the influence of the cultural elements from other cultures and not to simply appropriate oneself of this without due respect. Nevertheless, we have new elements that are incorporated, such as dance, clothing, and art, and other means. We have to maintain our culture and to mutually respect other cultures too. So I believe from wherever we are, we're fully convinced, and the evidence has shown this, that if teachers will be able to empower children so that they may develop their identity with strong self-esteem, self-belonging, and to value their own, they will be able to relate and learn better and feel more engaged with their people. Similarly, for a diverse and globalized world, it's important to understand cultural identity and ownership, since it enables inclusive and respectful citizenship with the different cultures and identities. Well, thank you so much, Reina, for your participation. And I think these three interventions lead us to learn more about good educational practices and how this proposal on identity and appropriation or ownership and for equal conditions in such a diverse continent can be shown through the different educational practices that you have. So first, I will give the floor to Eugenia and Reina and finally Katia. So this is a big challenge since you only have 2 minutes to present your best educational practice. Well, thank you. Well, my best educational practice is called recognizing my heritage. It has been implemented 4 years ago, and it was created based on the interest that I have as a teacher to put context and the various educational exercises to put context in the territory where I teach, which is called Carmen in Antioquia in Colombia. It's a territory that highlights to production and decoration of ceramics. And this practice and this tradition was created some 120 years ago. And the school where I work, we have some remains of a ceramics factory that existed in the grounds of the school. So it is very enriching for students to learn why these remains of this factory are in the school, and to learn how the ceramics were created, how this town was created, and that they wish to learn about the ceramics and want to continue with this legacy that was created over 100 years ago. And the information technology and communications, the ITCs play an important role, since the way in which I describe my territory, my legacy, and this is not only an empty technology or that is not related or may not have an educational purpose or cultural. So what we have done with the students, we began to learn about our territory, to tell stories using ICTs, using different platforms and strategies and digital strategies that enable students to say, this is my territory, this is who am I, and this is what I want to share and tell you. And this has been going on for 4 years now. Thank you, Katia, and without a doubt,
Katia.
it is highly inspiring experience, and we will all learn about this in this interactive map and the publication of digital education in the Americas. Now let's learn about the experiences and best practices by Reina Rodriguez Champi from Peru. Well, thank you. The initiatives that we're initiative and which we launched in 2021 is called Leamos y Soñamos con Yachasu, or We Read and Dream with Yachasu. We use an intercultural app called Yachasu to help students to read different types of texts in their mother tongue, Quechua and Spanish as a second language, and thus increase reading comprehension among students. Yachasu is an app that uses interactive reading where students carry out a trip along 5 worlds, and these 5 worlds are designed based on our culture or with the hills of our culture, which we call Apus in Quechua. And in those worlds, students can interact to face reading challenges of 3 levels, since this app has a reporting interface that enables teachers to see the reading progress of each student as regards the time, speed, questions with most mistakes, and carry out an adequate feedback for students. This app, when children start reading, they can earn points and stars and can purchase pets. And the fact of earning points, stars, and pets motivates them, and they wish to continue reading and thus develop the habit of reading on a regular basis. The readings have been gathered from the wise men of the community and parents that have got involved in preparing this app. We always bear in mind, and we are always thinking that such readings come from both cultures, and we have texts from the Ministry of Education and from other sources, so that these can also be included in the app. All this is done with due respect to learn the culture, with visit households, and the children are the ones that make the recordings. They come to school to transcribe, and once reviewed and checked, it's included or uploaded to the app. And that's what is being done at our school. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Reina. And now we will give the floor to Eugenia Tames on virtual student exchanges in Mexico. That is correct. Thank you so much. This came about 3 years ago during the pandemic. How did this come about? Well, we wanted to build experiences among students that were having online classes almost 100%, and to open up these the walls of the classrooms to other areas in the world that would help to enrich their experience, their learning experience. And this is not just a casual meeting between two groups or three groups of students, but rather what we sought to do was to include elements that make this a true learning experiences. So what have we included? It's not just to connect with a classroom. Hi, my name is Peter, John, and I'm in the city of Monterrey, and I'm in Argentina. What do you like or what do you dislike? Well, this is fairly enriching, but we wanted to give a plus, an additional aspect. So this student exchange from planning phases includes a subject. In this case, we have been carrying out languages. We have a classroom that only speaks English, and those that speak Spanish are gonna connect with native Spanish speakers who learn in English, and in turn they will have to speak in English and in Spanish, vice versa, and thus they foster the use of foreign languages. Secondly, each group has to choose one sustainable development goal so that they can detect a need to introduce to the local community or a community somewhere else, and that they can carry out a project to enhance such problem or opportunity. Third, to involve technology, because what we want to promote is that technology be used by students, or for all of us to use technology to become agents of change, to make use of this in a positive manner. So by conducting a project, practicing a different language, and detecting a need within our community or another community, and that the students themselves can promote an improvement, that is the aim of this virtual student exchange. It's not only just exchanging experiences. A very quick example, we had an exchange between Monterrey and the United States last year. We were facing one of the worst droughts. There was no water in Monterrey, so we connected with the state of New York, where water was abundant, and we were able to raise awareness among students who at that time lived with huge abundance of water resources versus what we were experiencing. The students, by using technology, they use robots where they activated through solar panels to gather waste along rivers that had been dried out. Others were showing different roles. Through virtual meetings, we connected to raise awareness, among others, what we were experiencing in Monterrey. So that is the aim of my proposal. Well, thank you so much, Eugenia. So we have seen how to value the cultural heritage can help us to reaffirm our identity, to tell our own story of the population of where one comes from, the native language and Spanish as a second language are essential road towards a better understanding of our own culture and an experience for intercultural dialogue that also enables us to reaffirm our identity and at the same time to understand that of others and move forward in society to try and be more equal. Now we will have a third question or third round of questions. First, Reina, Eugenia, and finally Katia. Bearing in mind that today, thanks to the invitation of the OAS and the Profuturo Foundation, we have colleagues and teachers such as yourselves, and also representatives from ministries of education, ministries of foreign affairs. We would like to ask you, how can we leverage digital education education to generate networks where students can get to know and share different social cultural backgrounds. We're now after the COVID-19 pandemic, and this was a starting point to develop digital education. So the question is how to better enhance and leverage digital education so as to learn and share new or different social cultural backgrounds. So we will give the floor first to Reina. Well, thank you. Well, I
Muchas
believe that
gracias.
we are fully
Bueno,
aware
yo
that
creo que somos
today digital
conscientes de
education is
hoy en
crucial
día la
and
educación
important
digital es
since
necesaria
it
e
provides a
importante
number of
porque
opportunities
ofrece
to
múltiples
foster
oportunidades para
cultural
fomentar la
diversity and
diversidad
ownership of boys,
cultural e
girls,
inclusión de los
and youth
niños,
with
niñas,
different
jóvenes
social
con
cultural
realidades
backgrounds, since this
socioculturales
will enable us
diferentes.
to share
Y aquello esta nos
our
va a
own
permitir compartir
experiences and the
nuestras
outlook that we
experiencias,
have
las
following
perspectivas
the
que tenemos
creation of
a
a
través de la
safe
creación
digital
de un entorno
environment
digital
where
seguro y colaborativo,
students may
donde
be able
nuestros
to
estudiantes
learn
puedan
in
aprender de
cooperation
manera
and to grow
cooperativa y
together.
crecer
So
juntos.
in that
En
regard,
ese
the first
sentido,
thing is
lo
to
primero
ensure
que se debe
access
hacer es
to both
garantizar el acceso
technology and
a
digital
la
education
tecnología y a la
to
educación digital
all
a
students,
todos y
regardless
todas
of their
estudiantes,
geographical location
independientemente de
and
su ubicación
social economic
geográfica y socioeconómica,
situation. I'm
¿no?
in a rural
Porque
area
yo,
and
por
it's
ejemplo,
somewhat
ahorita estoy en
difficult
el
to
área rural,
connect,
es un poco
and I
difícil
don't have
conectarme,
all
no
the
tengo los dispositivos
devices for
completos para los
students.
estudiantes,
Nevertheless,
sin
we
embargo,
are
estamos saliendo
forging ahead.
adelante.
Secondly, the
Dos,
digital
segundo,
content
el
that
contenido
is
digital
used for education should be
utilizado en la
diverse and
educación debe ser
represent the
diverso,
various cultures,
representativo de
since
diferentes
this will
culturas,
motivate
ya que
students
ese aspecto
to
motivará a nuestros
value
estudiantes
their
a revalorar
wisdom
los
and
saberes
knowledge of the
ancestrales
various
y las actuales
cultures.
de cada cultura.
Third of all, a
Tercero,
virtual
un
environment that
entorno virtual que
facilitates
facilite la
exchange and
colaboración y
exchange
el
of ideas
intercambio de
among
ideas
students
entre
from different
estudiantes
backgrounds,
de
and to
diferentes
enable
orígenes,
to have a better
permita la
understanding of
comprensión
various cultures and
intercultural
mutual
y el
respect.
respeto mutuo.
As regards
En
teachers,
cuanto a
it's
los
essential
docentes,
that
es
we are
necesario
empowered
que
with
estemos
digital skills,
empoderados
the use
en las
of
competencias
resources and
digitales,
technological
uso de
devices.
recursos y dispositivos
Likewise,
tecnológicos.
to
De la misma
we
forma,
should
mostrar,
show
nosotros
that we're
debemos
sensitive
mostrar
in
sensibilidad
view of the
ante
needs
las
and outlooks of
necesidades y
students from
perspectivas
different
de los
backgrounds and
estudiantes de
cultures. So
diversas
our
culturas.
proposal from school
Nuestro
is to promote
planteamiento desde la
cultural
escuela es
identity through
promover la
readings
identidad cultural
in
a
both
través de las
languages,
lecturas
to develop
en
among our
ambas lenguas,
students the
desarrollar en
ability
los
to
estudiantes la
recognize
capacidad de
others
reconocerse
as
y
people that
reconocer a
are
los otros
equal
y
with the
otras
same
como
rights and
personas iguales
dignity,
con
and at the same
dignidad y derechos,
time
y al mismo
acknowledge the
tiempo
different cultures,
reconocer las diferentes
languages,
culturas,
that
las
they're
lenguas,
all
pero
valuable.
que todos
And
son
so in that
valiosos.
regard, our
En ese
students,
sentido, nuestros
as I had
estudiantes,
previously
que nosotros
mentioned,
ya había
they are in
mencionado,
contact with their
entran en
yacha, the
contacto
grandparents,
con
and
los
they
yachas, los
listen to
abuelos, y
stories
recopilan
and
los
legends
cuentos,
in order
leyendas,
to
para
enhance
poder
readings
dinamizar la lectura
available
en
in
el
our app.
aplicativo.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Well, thank you for Reina's recommendations that have been very clear and that will undoubtedly enable us to move forward, and hoping that digital education is part of a right to education. Eugenia, well, based on my
Bueno,
experience
pues desde mi
as a teacher and
experiencia en
how
cuanto a mi
to reap the
práctica,
benefit of this,
cómo
I think
podemos aprovechar
technology
esto, yo
can
creo
be
que la
turned
tecnología la
into the
podemos
means
convertir
through which we
en el
can
medio por
amplify
el
the
cual
way in which we
amplificamos la manera de dar a
report or
conocer la
inform
diversidad
about cultural
cultural.
diversity and to
Em,
share positive
Compartir
experiences
estas
and
experiencias positivas y
practices
estas
will help
prácticas
us to better
nos van
understand
a
what
ayudar a
we
aprender
live,
lo que están viviendo en
what
diferentes
students
contextos
from different parts of the world
alumnos de
experience.
diferentes partes del mundo.
In
El mes
April of
pasado,
this year,
en
we
abril
carried
de
out a
este año, lo que
global
nosotros
exchange
quisimos era
among
llevar a cabo un
students.
intercambio
Well,
global de
we started
estudiantes. ¿Qué fue
looking
eso?
for
Nos pusimos a
students and
buscar
groups that had a
alumnos, grupos
project
que hubieran,
or that
que tengan
were
un
seeking to
proyecto,
share a
que quisieran
project where
compartir
they
un
had
proyecto
supported
en
a
donde hayan
community or their
apoyado a
own
una comunidad,
community
donde hayan
and to
apoyado a su
share it
comunidad
with
y
the
lo
whole
den a
world.
compartir con el mundo
So
entero.
through
Entonces,
technology,
esa
we were
manera, a
able to
través de la
connect
tecnología
classrooms from
fue que
13
pudimos
different
conectar
countries
aulas
so that
de 13
other
países
students in
diferentes
various
para que
countries could
otros
learn,
alumnos en diferentes
or
países conozcan esta
students who
realidad.
wanted to
Hubo alumnos que
share or
compartían
they
que les hacía
lacked
falta recursos
resources
para llevar a cabo
in order to
ciertos,
acquire
adquirir
greater
mayores
elements
elementos
to
de
carry out
tecnología
the
para poder
student
llevar a cabo estos
exchange. So we
intercambios
had other
estudiantiles.
classrooms
Entonces
where
hubo
they
otros
carried
aulas
out
en donde se
several
pusieron
activities in
a llevar
order
a cabo
to
diversas actividades para
collect
juntar
funds and
fondos
send them to
para
this
poder
educational
enviarlos a
community, and
esta
then in
comunidad
turn they
educativa
would be able
y
to
que ellos a su
acquire
vez
these
pudieran
and connect
adquirirlos,
to
pudieran
increase the
conectarse,
possibilities.
incrementar
And
estas
above all,
posibilidades y
what is
sobre
striking for
todo para
me
mí
is
lo que
how to
me
increase
llama la atención
sensibility and
es cómo se
empathy
incrementa
among
la
students when
sensibilidad
you
y la
open
empatía
this
de los
window,
alumnos
this
cuando les
door, when
abres
you
esta
open their
ventana,
eyes
cuando les
of
abres
the
los
different
ojos
needs that
de las
exist in different
diferentes
parts of the world.
necesidades que hay en diferentes
Because
partes del mundo, porque muchas
oftentimes we're
veces
at
lo
schools
damos por
and we
hecho en
think that they
diferentes
have the
colegios
privilege of
que tienen
having
el privilegio de
connectivity,
tener la
means,
tecnología, la
and
conectividad y los
devices
medios
without
a la
any
orden del día
special
sin
effort.
ningún
And there are other
esfuerzo.
communities,
Y
as
hay
Reina
otras
pointed out,
comunidades, como me estaba
that find it
comentando
very
esta
difficult
reina,
to be
que
connected
difícilmente tienen la
24 hours a day.
conectividad todo
But
el día.
students in
Pero
those,
los alumnos de otros lugares no
the
saben.
fact of raising
Entonces,
awareness and
el
showing empathy
sensibilizarlos,
to their needs
el hacerlos
is
empáticos de
highly
estas
enriching
necesidades,
for students.
enriquece
And
muchísimo a
this
nuestro
can be
proceso de
provided
aprendizaje.
with the
Y todo esto lo
support
podemos
of
hacer
the
con el apoyo de la tecnología.
digital connectivity. Thank you,
Muchas
Eugenia.
gracias, Eugenia.
This reveals a
Nos muestra
huge
efectivamente el
potential, not
enorme
only
potencial de
potential,
la,
but something that
no
is
solo
real
potencial,
of
una
how
realidad,
to
¿no?
achieve
De
among this
cómo
exchange,
lograr ese
empathy,
intercambio, empatía,
sensitivity, and
sensibilidad
mutual
y una
understanding
mejor
among
comprensión
our
mutua
different
de
peoples.
todos
Let's give the
nuestros
floor now
pueblos.
to Kathy.
Escuchemos
Well,
ahora a
thank you,
Katy.
Martin.
Gracias, Martín.
It's
Bueno,
undeniable
es
that the use
innegable,
of
¿cierto?
technology,
El
of
uso
digital technologies,
de las
in the
tecnologías
various
digitales en
aspects of our
todos
daily
los
life of
aspectos
individuals
de la
and
vida de las
education, of
personas
course,
y la
is
educación,
no stranger to this.
obviamente,
And
no es
we
ajena
don't
y
want to go
querer
swim
navegar
against
contra
current
la
and
corriente
to
y
acknowledge that
desconocer,
huge
¿cierto? Como
potential
todo ese
of the
potencial que
various
tienen las diversas
tools or digital tools
herramientas
that we
digitales
teachers
que nosotros
can
los
bring
maestros
forward
podemos
to our
traer a
classrooms
nuestras
so that
prácticas,
we
a nuestras
can
aulas de clase para
drive
potencializar
learning.
los
This is
aprendizajes,
undeniable and
es
necessary.
innegable y es necesario,
However,
¿cierto?
digital
Pero
technology cannot speak for
las
themselves and they
tecnologías
cannot
digitales no
do
pueden
things
hablar
on
por
their
sí
own. So
solas y
we
no
as
pueden hacer
teachers
las cosas
must
por
first
sí
of
solas,
all
¿cierto? Nosotros como
be
docentes
fully
debemos
aware
primero que nada tener como esa
of
conciencia
the
de
positive
las virtudes,
possibilities
de
as
las
well as the risks
potencialidades, de los
that
riesgos, de las
these
oportunidades
technologies bring
que
about,
trae consigo
since
ese
we need to know
aspecto, ¿sí?
how
Porque
to handle
hay que
this and
saberlo
address this so
manejar
that
y
we
abordar,
can
¿sí? Para
reap
que
the
nosotros podamos
best
sacarles
possible
el mayor
benefit to
provecho
what this provides to us.
posible
So,
a lo que nos
starting with this
ofrece.
part, that they're
Partiendo como de
necessary,
esa
that they're
premisa que son
important, and
necesarias,
that they
que
have a
son
lot to give,
importantes, que
so
tienen
long
mucho
as
para
we
aportar
as
siempre y
teacher
cuando
have
nosotros como docentes
are
tengamos una
aware of
pedagogía y
this,
una conciencia al
and that
respecto,
students
¿sí?
too
Y
understand
que los
to
estudiantes también
foster
empiecen
this
como a
cultural
fomentar esa
knowledge
cultura
so that they
digital
can learn what are the risks
para
as well as
conocer
the
los riesgos, pero también las
opportunities.
potencialidades y las oportunidades.
There is something else that comes up,
Se
and
plantea
this is
otra
the fact that
cuestión y es
technology and
precisamente
the
las
world
tecnologías y la
globalization
globalización del mundo
turns us like standards. We
nos
become
vuelven como
homogeneous and we're all the
estándares,
same.
homogéneos,
And
todos
so
iguales.
we
Entonces se
start
va
to
desdibujando un
disappear
poco
the
las
features
características
or
que como
characteristics that
individuos
we have.
tenemos
And it
y
would seem that
parece
we're all the
que
same and we
todos
all
somos
have the same
iguales y
problems
todos
and the
tenemos los
same
mismos problemas,
issues,
las
the same
mismas
culture.
características,
And
la misma
it's not
cultura
at all
y
like that,
resulta que
right?
no es así,
And
¿cierto?
so what I propose
Y yo
is that we
lo
need to be
planteo y
global
es que debemos
citizens
ser
with a
ciudadanos
local
globales, pero
identity.
con identidades
So,
locales, ¿sí?
with
Entonces,
that
desde esa
perspective in
perspectiva,
mind, the fact of using technologies,
utilizar
first
las
of all, to
tecnologías
recognize
para,
who
uno,
am I?
reconocer primero
What
quién
makes
soy
me
yo,
an individual that
qué me
comes from a
constituye como
specific
individuo del
area, region,
territorio
and then
y
to
luego ir
tell the
a
story to
contárselo de
others and that
pronto a
others
otros y que
can tell
otros
me,
puedan
like
contarle
Eugenia
como
does with
pronto
through that
hace
exchange,
Eugenia con ese
or a colleague
intercambio
in
o
Peru
la
of
compañera
knowing
allá en Perú de
her
conocer sus
origins
raíces y
and
contárselo
not
a los otros y no dejar
to
morir
allow
como
that
esa
flame
llama
to
que
be
nos
kept
vuelve
alive. And
únicos.
I
Y
think
la
that there are
tecnología que
different
creo que es una
ways that we can do
plataforma, hay
this
muchas
that can
formas de
provide us with
hacerlo
a possibility
que nos
to
brindan esa
recognize
posibilidad
ourselves as
para
individuals, but
reconocernos como
also to
individuos, pero también
recognize
reconocer la
other
otredad
cultures that
que
live in
habita en
this
el
world.
mundo, ¿cierto?
The fact
Porque
that we know that we're different and
sabernos
that we're not
diferentes
scared, that we're not
y que
scared
no nos
of
dé
the
miedo
diversity and of
la
being different,
diversidad,
because we
porque
do not
cuando
know
desconocemos
others
a
and
los otros
something different
y
comes
se
up,
nos presenta
we
algo
get
diferente, nos
scared,
da
we're
miedo, nos
frightened.
da
So
susto.
what we can
Entonces,
do is
lo que
reject,
podemos
turn
hacer también es
down, or
rechazar
discriminate, or
o
make someone
discriminar o
feel
hacer
bad.
sentir mal al
But the
otro,
reason behind
pero el
this is the
trasfondo es
fact that we're
el
scared or
miedo a
frightened
no querer
to what
conocer
seems
lo diferente a
strange or
nosotros.
different to
Entonces,
ourselves.
y
So
allí
this
se
is where
desarrollan
issues such as
cosas
values,
como
as
valores,
Eugenia
ya lo
and
decía
Reina from
Eugenia, ya
Peru
lo
have
decía
said,
la compañera
to show
Reina,
empathy, to show
esa
respect
empatía,
towards
ese
diversity,
respeto por la
to be
diversidad,
tolerant,
esa
and this
tolerancia,
all
y creo
contributes
que
to
contribuye
that we can
a
live
la convivencia,
together, that
a
we
que
can
convivamos
better live
mejor
together as
como
citizens,
ciudadanos,
as people,
como
that we
individuos,
belong
¿cierto?
to
Pertenecientes a
a
una
group, to
colectividad.
a
Entonces yo creo que
so the
es
fact of
saber
using
y
tools and
utilizar
established
las
goals that
herramientas,
have clear
establecer los
goals, and to
objetivos,
see
tenerlos
how we
claros
can
y mirar
foster
cómo podemos fomentar
networks.
esas redes,
And we learned
porque
this, we
creo que,
discovered
y
this
lo
through
aprendimos con la
the
pandemia,
pandemic, the network
las
of human
redes
beings that
de
can
los
be
seres
set
humanos
up
que se
through
pueden
different platforms.
establecer en estas
It's
plataformas es un
impressive
potencial
potential
impresionante,
because, first of all,
porque
because we
uno
come
hace
together,
fuerza,
but this
pero
is
muchos
something that
eso
we
es
cannot stop. And
imparable,
I
¿sí?
think this
Entonces
brings
yo
us
creo que
together,
este tema nos
all of
une a
us that
todos
were
los que estamos
connected. And if we start
conectados en este
working
momento y
together,
empezamos a
I think
trabajar.
that the
Creo
cultural
creo que
identity
la identidad cultural y ese
will
empoderamiento
become more
va a
relevant
tomar
in
mucha
the
mayor
classroom.
relevancia en
Well,
nuestras
thank you so
aulas.
much, Katia.
Muchas gracias, Katia.
Very clear
Muy
recommendations.
claras
And
también
here I
tus
wanted to highlight
recomendaciones.
that based on what you
Quería
have said,
resaltar
as well
también que a partir de lo
as
que tú has dicho
comments
y
of
también
Eugenia and
Eugenia
Reina,
y
we
Reina
highlight the
destaca el
role
rol del
of the
docente, ¿no?
teacher
Como un
who cannot be
policy
replaced if there's no
insustituible.
educational
Si no hay una
outlook of
mirada
what we will be
pedagógica
doing
sobre lo que vamos
with
a hacer
the technology, well, then
con
there's
las
a risk
tecnologías,
of
pues hay
all
estos
becoming
riesgos de
homogeneous
homogenización,
and
¿no?
it's so
Es
it's the
finalmente el
teacher
docente el
that
que
is
logra el
able
protagonismo de
to
sus
provide
estudiantes
adequate
en un
teaching
aprendizaje
to
que
the
realmente sea
students based on their
desde una
origins.
ecuación
And
de
I believe
potencias.
that this is a
Creo que esa también es
recommendation
una
that is
recomendación
very
que
clear.
queda
Well,
bastante clara.
we are about
Si
to
bien
come
estamos
to
ya
the end,
terminando,
but
quería
I would
pedirles
like to
yo
ask you, to
una
ask each one of
reflexión
you to
final a
give
cada
a
uno de
personal
ustedes
reflection.
y poner
We
antes
have
de ello
several
también
questions
han
from
surgido
the
varias
public.
preguntas del
I'm
público.
going
No
to
voy a enunciarlos,
mention,
pero para que
maybe
elijan de
you can
repente alguna de
choose
ellas
one.
para su
One
mensaje
of
final,
them,
¿no?
the
Una
good
primera pregunta ha
educational
sido,
practices,
¿las
do they
buenas prácticas
strengthen
educativas
with
se
the
fortalecen
cultural
con la raíz cultural
background
del
of a
estudiante?
student? A second one is, how
Una
does
segunda
culture
pregunta es,
influence in the
¿cómo
learning
influye la
process of
cultura en el
children?
proceso
And
de
the third
aprendizaje de los
is,
niños?
why
Y la
should we
tercera
strengthen
es,
digital
¿por qué debemos
education
afianzar
in
la
Latin
educación
America?
digital
You may
en
wish
América
to
Latina?
choose to answer one of
Pueden
these
ustedes
questions
elegir
or a
alguna de
combination
ellas,
of
una
these questions,
combinación,
and
y
then we
tendríamos
will
una
allow each
rueda
of you
final de
to
parte cada
take
uno,
the floor freely.
libremente, en esta rueda final.
Well, I would dare to
Bueno,
be
pues
the first
yo me
ones to
atrevo
answer. Could
a
you
iniciar
please
esto.
answer
¿Me
so
podrías
as
repetir
to
para
leave
no
anything aside of the last
eliminar
question? Why
la
should
última
we
pregunta, más que
strengthen
cómo
digital
Sí, ¿por qué
education in
debemos
Latin
afianzar
America?
la
Well, I
educación
think
digital
that
en
we need
América
to
Latina?
strengthen digital
yo
education
creo
in
que
Latin
debemos
America
afianzar
because
la educación
this
digital en América
is
Latina porque
we're
ya es
already
un tren
on
en el que
this
estamos
track, and
arriba
it's going to continue
y
moving
va a seguir
forward.
para adelante.
Now we have
Viene
artificial
ahora todo lo que es la
intelligence,
inteligencia
and
artificial y
technology will move
la
forward and not
tecnología no va a ir
backwards.
para
So
atrás.
if
Entonces,
we as
si nosotros
students,
como
as an
docentes y si
educational
nosotros
community, we
como
do not
comunidad
adopt,
educativa
and
no
we,
adoptamos y
let's not
no
say
vamos,
at the same speed
no quiero
as
decir que a
technology
la par de lo
evolves,
que
because
va
that is impossible or practically impossible, but if we fail to adopt the technology as part of the learning methods, we will be left lagging behind. And at the same time, what I would like to underscore, and to which I have spent the past 10 years, while adopting these new technologies, we should include digital citizenship, to use it in a positive manner, because it's useless to have the state-of-the-art technology if I don't use it in a positive manner for the well-being of humanity. And if a student or parent or teacher, if I can see the huge responsibility and enormous potential of making use of such tools so as to become a good actor of change and have a positive impact on humanity. Well, thank you so much, Eugenia. Thank you for your intervention. If you will allow me, there's a final question that I find highly interesting, and perhaps it can be included. And finally, schools, and many of the schools in the Americas are traditional. They have more of a traditional methodology. So how, in that digital scenario, how can this knowledge and learning has led us that in traditional schools we think that digital means more education and not to generate skills and learning and greater levels of knowledge. So I think this is something interesting. I don't know whether this can be included in your answer. Well, yes, I think that we
Sí, yo creo
teachers are
que
still in
nosotros
that
los docentes aún
phase of
andamos como en
transition
esa transición,
and
en
doing
esa
that
transición y en esa
understanding of
comprensión de
what
lo que
technology
vendría siendo
means
la
and what it can
tecnología
provide to us all,
y todo lo que nos brinda,
the knowledge per
porque
se.
el
And
conocimiento como tal y la
I was
sapiencia, como
reading
dice, yo estaba
I was
leyendo
reading that
justamente esa
question in the
pregunta
chat of
acá en el chat,
conveying
de esta
knowledge.
transmisión de
I think
conocimiento. Yo
we
creo que
need
nosotros nos
to
debemos
think about
replantear
this,
y
and
es un
it's a
reto que
challenge
todavía
ahead of
ha
us.
circulado y sigue
So if we
circulando
don't
hasta que
understand
nosotros no
that the
comprendamos
interests
que
and chip
los
of this
intereses
new
y el
generation
chip
and
de
who
esta
they are has
generación y lo
changed,
que ellos son
and
ha
despite
cambiado
the fact that they
y que
have
ellos tienen, a pesar de que tienen la
information within a
información al
click, they
alcance
don't
de un
know what
clic,
to do with that
no saben qué
information, right?
hacer con esa información, ¿cierto?
So they don't know what to do with that information.
No
What
saben qué
should
hacer
we
con esa
do? And with
información. Entonces, ¿qué
artificial
venimos a hacer con la
intelligence, we
inteligencia
can't, let's
artificial?
not even talk
Inservible.
about
O
that.
sea,
We
y
have
no
not
hemos, no hemos
assimilated
asimilado
yet
aún
the acknowledge in the classrooms, and now
la
we have
tecnología en las
artificial
aulas cuando ya
intelligence,
llega la
and that
inteligencia
they
artificial
can
y que ellos
make
pueden
any
ingresar cualquier
question,
pregunta y cualquier
and
trabajo,
AI
lo
is
que
going
sea,
to
y la
answer
inteligencia
to them.
artificial le
So
va a
these are
responder. A
questions
mí esos son
that
cuestionamientos
take up a
que
lot of
la
my
verdad
time,
me
and I'm
preocupan
very
y me
concerned about this,
preocupan
because I'm
además
saying
porque yo
I don't
digo
think teachers
que el
will
docente no creo
disappear,
que
but they
desaparezca
have
pues
to
como en ese
change
rol,
this
pero
concept of
sí
a
debe cambiar esa
mission of
concepción, eso es
knowledge,
transmisión de
developing
conocimiento,
skills. These
es
are
desarrollo de
skills. What do
habilidades,
I do
son
with what I
competencias.
know
¿Qué hago
and with
yo
what I
con lo que
don't
sé? ¿Qué
know?
hago yo
And
con
what
lo que
can
no
I
sé?
do
¿Qué
with my
hago con
surroundings?
lo que
How
está a
can
mi
I
alrededor?
enhance
¿Cómo puedo
my
mejorar y
environment by the
transformar
use
mi
of a
entorno a
mobile
través del
device
uso de un
or a
dispositivo móvil, por
technological
ejemplo, o de
solution,
una solución
since
tecnológica?
information is available
Porque la
in
información
internet, in
está en
Google,
Internet y está
and
en Google
it's
y está al alcance de
readily
la mano de
available.
todos y
But
todas.
despite the fact that they have
Pero
all this
a pesar de que
information,
ellos
they
tienen
don't
toda la
know what to
información,
do with
no
all
saben qué
this
hacer con
information.
toda esa información y
And that excess of
ese
data
exceso
and
inclusive de
information that we're
datos que
bombarded with on a
estamos
daily basis.
bombardeados todo el
So I was
día. Pues
saying to my
¿cómo puedo
students,
yo?
you
Le
have
decía yo a mis
TikTok, right? And what
estudiantes,
do you use
usted
it
tiene
for? To watch
TikTok, ¿cierto? ¿Para
videos.
qué lo usa?
Some
Para
might
ver
be
videos
interesting and
ahí que
others not
algunos
so
puedan
much
ser
so.
interesantes y
So
otros de
how
pronto no tanto. No,
can
pero usted en
TikTok
TikTok, ¿cómo
make
me
a video
puede
so that I become
hacer este
interested
video
in
para
the
que yo me
identity
interese
of
sobre
your
la
people?
identidad de su
And
pueblo?
so to
Ajá, entonces
generate
es
this
como establecer esa
activity
creatividad y los
using the means
medios que a
that
ellos les
they
gusta, que a
like
ellos
or
les
they're
interesa
interested in,
para
and to
un
try
bien
and turn
educativo.
things
Entonces es como
round
voltearle ahí el giro de
of
tuerca,
a
el plot
technology
twist que yo
that
le
can
llamo
be
de
for
una
fun,
tecnología
but
que
can
puede
be
ser para
also used
diversión,
for
pero
more
también puede ser
interesting
para otros
aims.
fines,
from a teacher's standpoint. Well, thank you so much, Katia.
Muchas gracias,
Reina,
Katia.
final
Reina,
reflections. Yes, can you hear me?
tu reflexión
Yes.
final. Adelante, qué bueno que te
I
podamos escuchar.
have an unstable connection, so I'm not switching on the camera. I would like to answer the questions of good or best educational practices are strengthened with the cultural heritage and origins. So the role of culture is very important since it enables us to learn the real context of where the students are, what are their characteristics, which are their needs. And at the same time, this will help us teachers to understand and provide them with strategies and tools so that our students may be able to develop so that they can progress personally and at the same time contribute with society. So I believe it's important to bear in mind the culture and context of students so that we can put this into place. Well, thank you so much, Reina, for your participation. Our webinar is about to come to an end, and we would like to thank the team of the OAS and Pro Futuro who have organized this activity with a great deal of passion for education in our regions. We would also like to give our thanks to the ministries of education, the ministries of foreign affairs, as well as permanent missions of member states of the OAS for their support so that these activities are available at all locations in the hemisphere. We would, of course, like to thank Eugenia, Katia, and Reina that have fulfilled the objective of making us reflect in depth of an area which we said at the beginning is crucial for all students and for the whole of the region. Finally, we would like to invite you to enter the interactive map and the publication that's available both in English and Spanish, so the links that we have included in the screen, and to follow us in social media. The next webinar will take place on 16th November, and we'll be talking about practices, process to promote skills. So the official network of the OAS and Pro Futuro, so that you may register and participate in this webinar. Good morning and good afternoon to you all.